I remember I was going through, there were a lot of emotions and feelings going through me. I cried a lot, Edric. I cried a lot. I cried because you just don't know what you need to do. I'm just responding to phone calls, responding to emails, responding to text messages as they came. It was very tough.
Pastor Wilson, it's been about a year since all of that happened to you.
Yeah.
All of that. And, I was following the news and we were shocked when we first heard it. Maybe 1 year later, that's why we're sitting down here right now, so that 1 year later, maybe we have a chance to look back and think at what happened and marvel at where God has brought you and has brought us as a church. But maybe we start by looking back.
Yeah.
1 year ago, tell us, February 11th, I think you first went into the NCID. February 13th, the news came out. Tell us what was going through your mind, what was going through the church's mind at that time.
Well, Edric, it's been almost a year now. February 11 was the day that I went in with a slight fever, and I went in because two of my staff were one was definitely confirmed to be a COVID case, and then the second one was a suspect. So when I heard that, I was very disturbed because I wasn't well for a week with a fever that came and left, and then it came back again. So, and I was at a point, I remember receiving a call somewhere Monday morning where one of my staff was definitely confirmed, and I said, oh wow, this sounds serious. So when second day, he was definitely confirmed by NCID. By then, I realized that I said I wasn't feeling well, and I felt that since I was a close contact of this staff, I decided that I told my wife that on Tuesday, I remember saying that I need to go and check.
Wait, so you're not feeling well? What was not feeling well? What did that feel like?
I wasn't feeling well because I was having a fever.
Okay.
And it's a very strange fever.
Not the normal stuff?
The fever will come and then it will go, and then it will come, it will go. And then one day you will have like 37 degrees, the next day you will have like 37.8, 10.9. And then at a certain point in the day, you go up to 38.3, 0.4. So it just is quite a strange fever.
But just a fever?
It's just a fever.
The sense of smell and all that?
I definitely had my sense of smell.
Food still tasted good?
It still tasted good. I had different local meals then, and yeah, I could taste it. I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell. It's just a fever.
Okay.
It's a very nagging fever. So I told my wife that I think I better go and check it out. Because I had already gone twice to my GP, a clinic near my house. I went there twice, and the doctor was saying, "Oh, just take some antibiotics and see what happens next." But when my staff was confirmed, one of our staff was confirmed to have COVID, I said, "I better go and check it out." So I went in on the 11th February, and 11th February, the moment they knew that I was a close contact, they didn't ask any question. They said, you just need to stay in hospital. It wasn't a choice that I wanted to stay in NCID. They just said, oh, because you're a close contact, then you need to stay. So I was warded on the 11th, went in there, and then had a swab test, did x-ray. Everything was done on the 11th. And by 12th morning, the nurse came in fully gowned, and I knew something was wrong.
Wait, you mean the day before that they didn't?
The day before that, they were not that gowned up.
Oh, no?
they had a mask on, but
Okay.
not a full PPE, because when they sent me in, it wasn't full.
But that was early days. They hadn't figured out yet.
Yeah,
Every case you got to treat with the full PPE, right?
Yeah, so
okay.
now when I saw them coming in with the full PPE, I knew like, oh, wow, sounds serious. And then the nurse came in, and then she told me, doctors will come and talk to you. And sure enough, the doctors came and they spoke to me through the phone. Yeah.
They came and then they phoned you from across the room?
Yeah. There are two doors.
Wow.
From where the doctors were and where I was. There were two doors.
Like the prison visit?
Similar. And the doctors called and broke the news to me. And I was shocked. I was shocked. I said, are you sure I'm a confirmed case? They said, yes, you're a confirmed case. And that's when everything started to pause before me, and I realized, oh wow, the weekend that passed on the 8th and 9th of February.
When you had the fever on and off still?
No, at the point I didn't have fever. Yeah, I mean at the weekend I didn't have fever. But we had a 70th year anniversary launch. So it was a big deal in our church in the sense that we had major gatherings.
Yep.
And on Friday I had a leaders meeting, and so I had a lot of meetings in the week.
Sure.
Of course, most of the time when I came to church, I was well. And so when it was confirmed, many things went through my mind. For example, those people that were in close contact with me, my family, my staff, my church members, especially over the weekend. So I was just like, all the faces and names were just flashing through my mind. And I was suddenly very concerned. I said, oh wow. In some sense, I asked myself, oh no. So many things went through my mind. I even asked myself, would I survive this? So I asked the doctors, what would happen to me? So the doctors said that we need to do more tests on you to find out how serious your condition and to observe you. So throughout my stay there, my fever continued to go up and down.
So you're isolated at this point?
Yes, I was isolated in NCID. So I was isolated, and then the medicine I took was Panadol.
Wow, powerful stuff.
Yeah, I was given Panadol just to bring down the fever, and they were tracking my fever. There was a thermometer that was attached to my body, so they were tracking it. So after this, on the 3rd day, I remember I was in Tuesday. By Friday, my fever stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Good Panadol.
It was good Panadol.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, and I waited for the doctors to come on Saturday, and I asked the doctor, I said, I don't feel like I'm having fever anymore. And the doctor said, yep, you're right. Your fever your temperature has come down to normal now. And the doctor was very assuring. He told me that it looks like you are on the path of recovery. And I was pleasantly surprised, of course. I said, okay, so what's happened next? They said, oh, you need to shed the virus right now until you have a double negative. So that's when I had daily swabs to see when I would have a double negative.
How badly does it hurt?
The swab test?
Yeah.
The first time when I had it was on the 11th. That one was a little bit of getting used to. Edric, it was the first few times was quite an interesting experience. You just had to prepare for it. I never knew that the swab could go so far in. Never knew that. Yeah, and of course after the after the 2nd and 3rd day onwards, right? The first few days I had quite a number of swabs because I was part of a Protect project as well.
Sure.
So besides swabbing for whether I still carry the virus, I was also involved in a research project. So it's 2 separate swabs. Yeah.
One at each side?
No. Both sides.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah. So when they swab you, it's not just one side, they swab you both sides.
Oh, each swab is
both
times
sides.
2?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so...
And that's 3 times a day?
No. I had it twice until I request for the doctors. I asked the doctors, can I don't be swabbed every day? Because I'm still running a fever. And so I said, can I request to only to begin my swabbing after my fever stopped?
Yep.
And so they agreed to it. And my swab was resumed on Saturday after my fever stopped. Yeah, so it was quite an interesting experience, the swabbing experience. So in total, I was swabbed 10 times. So thankful for the first 2-3 times was you need to get used to it. It's like eating wasabi, and there's lots of wasabi that rush into your throat and your nostril, that kind of feeling. Especially when they try to go all the way in, and that's when you have the kind of feeling. After that, you'll be fine. Okay. So it's a bit of discomfort, After a few days later, I got used to the swab. Yeah, so I was able to tell the nurse, okay, you're there. you can even feel the right place to be swabbed, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got used to the swab after a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was your conversation with God? What did it sound like at that point in the isolation in NCID?
The first few days in NCID was very tough because after I went in, I received news that a lot more church members and staff were also coming into NCID for their swab.
Okay.
Either because they were not well or because
Exposure.
exposure. There were a lot of fears in the church because we were so early, in a so early stage in the pandemic. We didn't have a lot of information then about the virus, how it would spread. So people who could be very far away from me, who could be seated very far away from me in a church, would also feel that they have contracted the virus just because they were in church.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of fears, a lot of concerns, a lot of anxiety. People were asking for who were those who were confirmed cases, whether they were near them. A lot of that because contact tracing at a point in time wasn't really well known among in Singapore, among Singaporeans, or even among my church members. So there are a lot of concern. So a lot of fears, a lot of concern, a lot of anxiety. It was very tough, Edric. It was very tough. I remembered in the hospital, I said, God, why would this even happen to us? Because Edric, it was after Chinese New Year, I remember, because Chinese New Year in 2020 was in January. And I remember that we were preparing for this pandemic just before Chinese New Year. We got wind of it from the news, and we started preparing in January with different safety measures and protocols within the church. But little did we know that while we were preparing for with all of those safety protocols, the virus was actually spreading among us. So when that happened, we were shocked. We were, in some sense, paralyzed. There were a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, as I mentioned earlier. And when you see people coming into NCID for swab, you get concerned for them because many of them had elderly family members. And thankfully, of course, we just thank God that there were no fatality among us. But at that point in time, you didn't know whether there would be fatalities. You just don't know.
Or lasting effects.
Or lasting effects, what will happen to people. And then we received word that some members were not reacting well to the virus and their lungs were not working and they went to ICU.
Amongst your
members? Among our members. So that created even more anxiety and fear. And then suddenly we realized that, oh wow, this virus could really paralyze your lungs. And then we started to pray for those who were really affected. So I was managing a crisis from the NCID ward.
Wow.
Because Edric, I was just appointed the senior pastor position. I just took over the church in about a month.
At the turn of the year.
Turn of the year. And a month later, COVID hit us. So it was very tough because I was going through a personal crisis, my personal health, at that point in time, the early stage, especially the first few days. And then my family was also going through a very challenging time because they were suspecting that two of my family members were infected. And then here we are, I have a church crisis at the same time where members were coming in by the dozens for swab tests.
And no one really knows what's going on, right?
And no one knew at the point in time what was going on. So I was trying to manage all of that in the NCID ward. So I was every day when I remember every day waking up praying to God, give me strength, God, to do this. And of course, my next prayer would be, God, Lord, I pray for Wi-Fi. A wireless SG, God, let me find Wi-Fi, because I was having crisis meeting with my leadership team, with my board, with my family, and with whoever needed to contact me. So we were in a crisis management mode. Very difficult at a point in time because all the time you were trying to figure out what's going to happen next, and then you hear your members not doing well in the hospital ward, their lungs, they couldn't breathe, and then you see how the effect on families, on their spouse. So there was so much that was going on.
Was there a point that you were more concerned about yourself and your health?
I mean, the only time I was concerned about my health was when I had the first conversation with the doctor. After that, it was crisis management mode.
Well, it's at least something to think about. You don't have to worry so much about yourself, right?
Yeah, and I remember I was going through, there were a lot of emotions and feelings going through me. I cried a lot, Edric. I cried a lot. I cried because you just don't know what you need to do. I'm just responding to phone calls, responding to emails, responding to text messages as they came. It was very tough. And I was so concerned for my family members. Because at one time, I was in NCID. My wife and my second daughter was in KKH. My eldest daughter and my youngest son was at home. So we had 3 locations because they wanted to isolate us and make sure that we don't pass the virus among ourselves.
Which you didn't in the end, right? Your family members?
No, in the end, my family members didn't get it.
Which is funny, right? Because you see them the most. Either that or you weren't seeing them enough as a church pastor. But
no, I was spending a lot of time with them, especially my wife, because that week running in, we were in different meetings.
Right.
So
God really protects.
Yeah, and I mean, I would hug them every day before they would go to school, and we eat together. We had conversation together. But saying that, when I wasn't well, there's a practice in my home that I will always wear a mask.
Okay.
So any one of my family members, the moment we are not well, we would definitely wear a mask. So
because of COVID or even before COVID?
Even before COVID.
Oh, wow.
So I was wearing mask when I was having my fever.
That probably made a difference.
Yes, it did. So except when I sleep, of course, then I will take out my mask.
Yep.
But other than that, I will be wearing my mask at home. So that was something that we practiced as a family. So by the grace of God, my family didn't get it. But the whole process was very trying. So I woke up, I remember waking up every day praying to God. I would take a shower, and I would make my shower place a place of my prayer. Because outside could look into my ward, so I would go to the toilet and pray. And I pray and I cry. I say, God, why me? Why at this point in time when I just took over the church? There's so much that I need to do, and I need to know more people first in order to respond better in a crisis. So I didn't have all the luxury of time and space. I was just thrown into a crisis to lead the crisis. So I cried a lot in the hospital ward because I realized that I was under tremendous pressure, and I was saying, God, why now? Why me? What's happening? I said, God, what are you doing in my life? Why at this point in time? Why Grace Assembly? So all those things went through my mind when I was in hospital. I cried a lot, and my tears could be triggered by my family, could be triggered by a text from church members, could be triggered by the fact that one of my members wasn't doing well because of the virus, or hearing that my staff members, our staff team members, how their families were affected because of the COVID. I would cry over all of that. Suddenly, anything could trigger my tears. And I realized that I was going through a trauma. So I had to still myself before God and pray and say, God, give me strength to manage this now. So maybe because it was a crisis beyond me, I could focus on the bigger crisis of the church, of my family members, and not focusing on myself.
Right.
So that helped maybe to distract me from my own condition and to focus on the church and my members. And every day we were just trying to figure out who was coming into NCID, which family, which person, and we were tracking everyone who was coming into NCID. And if we got to know that a member came in, then we try our very best to find a number, so at least I could start a conversation with them inside the ward, just to encourage them and prepare them for what will be coming.
It's very much like the Christian faith, you know. Sometimes we're told, look beyond yourself, look outwards. And when you do that, really, sometimes it helps you not look inside so much and stop, you know, focusing so much on yourself and all that you're going through. I think it sounds like that was what was really happening.
Yeah.
So we fast forward now to February the 21st, right? When I think your double negative and all that had come in. What was that day like? 20th.
February 20th was the second negative. So I had my first negative on the 19th, and then it was my first negative. I was very excited. I said, "Oh, finally a negative!" You know. Yeah, and then and the doctor they were very encouraging. I mean, the doctors and nurses there in NCID, they're just solid. They were very encouraging, highly professional, very comforting. They will always comfort us and encourage us. And when I had my first negative, the doctors came and said, "Mr. Teo, congratulations, you had the first negative, and let's believe for the second one." And I went for my second one. So on the 20th, the news came back in the morning that I had a second negative. So I was discharged on the 20th of February. So in total, I was inside there for 10 days.
Wow, how did that feel?
It was the first thing I remembered. I wanted to go back home and hug my family. And after that, I went for a bak chor mee at a nearby hawker center.
It shows you the things that really matter to you. Yeah.
I think the crisis has shown us, or the pandemic has shown us, what's really crucial, what's really essential for church life. There are many programs in churches today. But the pandemic stripped off everything. There are things that are not essential, and allow us to see what's really essential when there's no physical premises to meet.